Good morning, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. Today's project is going to be this Zebco Pro Staff PSG40. And I really don't know anything about this reel. It's been in the drawer for a long time. As far as I know, it's never been used in my possession. It seems to function okay. Let's see, anti-reverse override works on it. And sorry I'm getting a line trapped there. Let's hit the override again so I can back this thing up and get this line out of here. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is first of all we'll check and see if the drag works. Oh, there it goes. It broke loose. This is something that I always do every time that I take a reel out fishing. Drags have a tendency to have grease or oil in them, and sometimes that will kind of cause them to adhere to the surface. And the first thing I want to do when I get ready to throw a reel out is I go ahead and I test the drag to make sure where I've got it set to begin with and whether it's functional or not. So the drag's working on this. Let's go ahead. This is a rear drag reel, and it's a Zebco made in Korea. Let's go ahead and pop the rotor off of this. Look at all this line trapped in here. All right, there you go. Got all that out of there. Let's see what it's going to take. Okay, we are missing the cap to go on this side over here. So that's going to allow dirt and trash to get in here. Will it cause the reel not to function? No, it just will cause it to tend to get dirt and stuff inside it. So it's good to know that it's missing so that you can kind of watch out for that. Okay, let's see about unscrewing the handle. And let's add a little oil here to the pivot point. There we go. And we're going to put a little down inside the handle knob. Give it a little spin. There we go. Okay, you want to do that each time you service one of those, even if it's spinning well. Okay, let's take a look at this side. All right, and you can see a clear separation point right here between the rotor and the side case. So that means that we should be able to take the side case off of this without having to take the rotor off. You can see there's a lot of dirt in this reel. Okay, so I'm going to break each of them loose, and then I'm going to take them out, I think, with a Phillips screwdriver. Okay, this is not an original screw. Notice that there's no Phillips head in it. So I will be seeing if I've got another one of those, which I'm sure I do. But we'll take that one on out and see if we've got another screw like this laying around in my screw drawer or in my parts bag to replace that with. Definitely not the same screw. See there? Hopefully they haven't chewed up the hole where the screw is supposed to go. That may be why it's in there. It could have been a stripped out hole. All right, we'll take that off. Side plate's clean on the outside, or in the inside. The outside is very dirty, but the inside looks very clean. Okay, now this one's got bushings in it, like so. And I'm going to see if I've got any bushings that match those, or bearings. Because I like upgrading if I can. Maybe. All right, I've got a good match for a bearing for that. Okay, now, see if there's any. It appears, and it may just be grease, yeah. All right, so we have a good bearing that we can put in there in its place, in place of the bushing, and that's going to make this reel run a lot smoother. Okay, so let's see if we can take this out. Nope, we're going to have to remove the crosswind block. There we go. And there's one screw holding the crosswind block, so we had to rotate this around to get that screw to come down into view. We're going to go ahead and remove that screw. And this clip should come in let's get you down in here so you can see this clip that the screw is in. I've lifted it up, and we're just going to pull it out like that. Okay, and aside from having some excess grease on it, it's in good shape. With that done, we should be able now to pull the crosswind block out. I'm sorry, the axle shaft out. And although it's very crusty and dirty, it seems to be in very good shape. All right, takes care of that. Now we should be able to pull the gear out. And, okay, now this one has this anti-reverse assembly right here. Okay, and see these notches here? They're going to have to be on this notch right here in order to lever this in and out. And I don't think it matters which one of those two notches you're in, as long as you're in one of the two notches. There's not a window in this gear for you to be able to see that, so when you put it back, you kind of have to look underneath as you go to put it in to make sure that it fits into one of those. All right, so we're going to take that out. We'll get that cleaned up. You are going to be tempted to pop that off, and I'm going to recommend that you don't. Although it doesn't flex that much, it can crack these. I have seen them break when people pop them off, so I'm going to suggest that you don't do so. All right, let's take a look what else we got here. Here's our crosswind block, which seems to be in good shape, minus the dirt. Okay, and we've got our crosswind gear. Wow, look at the play in that. We did just recently do one of those that we took up that play, and the screw is solid, so it's not the screw. All right, I believe I'm going to do the same thing on this gear that I did on that one. In this case, I don't believe it's the shaft here. I think it's the gear itself is worn. But seeing as there's none available, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix it in the same manner that I fixed that one with the aluminum foil. So we'll come back to that when I get there. Okay, we've got that off. This is our anti-reverse lever right here. Let's go ahead now at this point and remove this nut off of the rotor. I believe that's a 14 millimeter. Nope, I'm using a 9/16. Okay, let's go ahead, remove the nut, and set that off to the side, along with these bearings, these spare bearings that I have. Now, you may ask me where I got these spare bearings. Why do I have spare bearings? I have them because I went on eBay. I made measurements on another reel and ordered a lot of 10, because usually bearings tend to come in either lots of 4 or lots of 10. And it's the same price almost for 10 as it is for 1. So I went ahead and bought the 10, and that gives me spare bearings to have laying around. Okay, we've got a lock washer. I'm not sure that's original to the reel, but it's there. We'll put it back in. And then we've got the locking plate right here. Dump that out. Okay, and this is our trip ramp right here for our trip release for our bail. That's the ramp that comes out and pushes it out. Let's go ahead now, take the screws out from our bearing retainer. So that's a combination bearing retainer trip ramp. Now, I'm hoping, yep, we can just grab hold of that, pull it out. There we go. This is our anti-reverse cog right here. And this is our bearing. And I may have one of these too. And it would be nice to replace an open bearing with a sealed bearing if I have one. And it just so happens that the main bearing for this reel is a 9 by 17 by 4, and I happen to have one. There it is, sealed bearing. So I can replace the open bearing with a shielded bearing or sealed bearing, and it should fit on here like this. There we go. So that's going to give us a sealed bearing on the front. Is this reel worth all these bearings? Well, probably not, but I've got them. Let's hot rod it while we can. All right, let's take a look in here. Let's see, there should be another bushing over here. let's see about taking that bushing out. There we go. There's that bushing, and it appears to be the same as the earlier bushing, so that will be 2 ball bearings we'll put in this reel, plus the main to go in there, and that will take care of those. Let's work our way back now to the drag system on this. Let's see if I can get the screw to unscrew. All right, with the knob off, I'm hoping I can unscrew this, and I cannot. So let's see if we can figure out what's holding it. What is it? The lock for it. There we go. It's unscrewing now. Okay. Now, I'm going to put this screwdriver in here to hold it. Better yet, let's use the axle shaft that normally rides in here. Put that in and see. Nope, they're too big to come out through the bottom, so they do have to come out of the top. So we'll leave those out, and we'll grab hold of these like so. There's 3 plates plus, okay, so the center is going to have to come out, and the spring. Let's get those out. There's a spring inside here, large spring. Let's get that out. With that out, we can push backwards on the center hub here, like so. Well, you're gonna have to give me a minute to figure out how to get these out. All right, there's one drag washer already trying to come out on its own. Let's see if we can pull that out. There it is. That's the metal drag washer plate. Top of that. Okay, these should separate from the center hub. The center hub should come on out. Okay, there's the front one almost out. All right, this one's requiring me to test my abilities. Let's push forward again, see if we can get that to go forward. Okay. Put that forward. We will back out the rear one. I think these have to come in one at a time. There's Teflon and it's certainly giving me a hassle. There it goes. Oh, here we go. There's the metal one. This is a keyed metal washer, and it's got a fiber washer stuck to it. It doesn't want to come off. Let's see if we can separate the two without breaking it. There we go. All right. Okay, the next one in line was this Teflon washer. All right, let's slide the next one back, see if we can get it. There we go. Got the next one off. It's a keyed washer. Or technically, I think it would be an eared washer. It's interesting that they seem to have spaced out Teflon washers with, oh, this one's coming apart. I'm going to have to find a washer for this one. This one is just disintegrating. That is a cork washer. And it is glued to this ring, and I will have to find one. If worse comes to worse, I'll make one. All right, because it certainly wasn't going to work that way. All right, let's see what we got next. Next comes this washer up and out. All right. Then comes another Teflon. It's interesting that there's 2 Teflon and 2 cork washers in here. All right, that's out. Okay. This should have come, there it goes. That should have just dropped right out and never should have stayed in there. but for some reason it was catching. And I don't know why, but it was catching in there. All right. So I'm going to go offline for a minute and see if I can locate a spare washer or two. And I would really like to put all Teflon in there. Well, this one's not too bad. I'd like to replace them with these. So let's see what I find. Okay, the body has been cleaned up now, and we're going to go ahead and reinsert these pieces. Now, the way this is laid out is you've got what typically would be an eared washer, which means it's got the hooks on the outside edges. Then you're going to have a regular drag washer. Then you're going to have a keyed washer. This is metal. And we're going to have a fabric washer. Now, why there's fabric mixed with Teflon, I'm not really sure, except maybe that's what somebody had available. Maybe yours will have all Teflon washers or all fabric washers. This one had a fabric one here and a fabric one here, and I managed to replace this one, although it's a little thicker than the original was, so I'm hoping it's all going to fit in here okay. All right, so let's go ahead and see about, so anyway, eared washer, keyed washer, eared washer, keyed washer, eared washer. That's the method that they go in there. And we'll see if we can't get these installed. Okay, we're going to start off with this first one. I think it's going to lay in here sideways like this. Just like that. And these little notches have to fit into grooves that are down inside there. I don't know if you can see them or not, but they're going to fit down inside there like so. And if it doesn't go this way, it will go this way. And I'm not sure which way it goes yet. It appears that it's that way. Let me take a look through the hole. Yes. So they're going to go long ways down. Okay. Next, we're going to put in a Teflon washer. Next, we're going to put in a keyed washer. Fabric washer. And there's a reason, and that's because it can't go through that way. Okay, I'm not even going to show you that. Okay, we're going to pull the stack out. Okay, if you look at these, okay, they're all stacked up now. And the way this would have to go through, it would have to come through the front side, one piece at a time until you got all the way through. Okay, now, the problem with that is trying to get it in all the keys and all the notches. Okay, there we go. And then all the ears would match up like so. Like that. That's how it's got to go in. Okay, and that's why this piece wouldn't pull out, and I had to fish them out one at a time because it all has to fit through the front side. Okay, as soon as it hits the first keyed washer, the first keyed washer can't fit through there. So that's as far as it can go. So we have to take this, install this piece inside, and then slowly feed each piece in. Okay, so we're going to drop this in first. Like so. And then we're going to have to start dropping our drag washers in. And I'm going to try to keep this turned so that the flat is perfectly straight at the top, like that. Okay, can you see it? Okay, that way when we go to set each of these in here, hopefully they'll be able to easily drop into place. Okay, there's the first eared washer. Here comes Teflon washer. Now this keyed washer is the one that has difficulty fitting in because it's got to match up with the flats on that centerpiece. So put that in, maneuver it around. You might have to wiggle a little bit. There we go. It drops in. Now the next, this is going to be the fabric washer. Then it's going to go the eared washer. Come on. There we go. Make sure it drops into the slots. Then it's going to go the Teflon washer. And then comes your last keyed washer. And it's got to fit, that flat has got to fit right straight in. So drop it in. There you go. It went right on. Then comes our Teflon washer. I think that one went. Let's see. Oh, the key washer appeared to, but it didn't actually. There it goes. Now it's on. Then we'll put the next fabric washer, and then last but not least, the last keyed washer or eared washer drops in like so. Okay. All of that in place. It should look like that inside. We're now going to drop in the big spring. And this guy's going to drop in like that. Okay. And then it's going to go this piece. It's got to go on. It's got a spring inside it that looks like it's going to lack onto there, but it doesn't. What does that spring hold in? Not sure. This is a solid piece. Not sure. Okay, we're going to go ahead and screw this piece back on. Like so, and that now locks all of these in place. And we can set this back in place, and it locks on when it goes into its situation, into its particular place, and put our screw back on. And we will see if we have a functional drag system. And I believe we do. Okay, with the screw in now, we can unscrew this. The drags loosen up. We tighten it down. The drags tighten up. Very nicely. Okay. And we'll see when we get it back together whether or not it's functioning as is. All right, we're going to take a minute now to look at this rotor. And I don't know that we're going to take this rotor all apart. I hate C-clips with a passion. And there's a C-clip here, and there's a C-clip on this side that you have to take off to disassemble the bail wire on this. And this thing is operating perfectly well. But what we are going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take off the side plate on each side to show you what's under here and how you would go about dealing with it if in the event that you needed to. Okay, on this side, you have the trip lever. Okay, it flips back and forth. See it there? And if you wish to take that side cover off, you can take it off. Put a little oil on that trip lever. Put a little oil along the edge here where this rides. And that's really all you should have to do on this side. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to wipe that off and put it back together on this side. And we're going to take the other side apart a little bit. Okay. You should be able to get any dirt, grit, or anything else that's in there. If not, you can pop that C-clip off, but I'm not a big fan of C-clips. This reel happens to have one on each side, and I just soon leave them alone. Especially big ones like that are down in the hole. Okay, so that's got that. Well, that didn't go down in there. When you do put this on, make sure that that plate goes all the way down inside there before you put the screw in. Otherwise, it leaves a gap and you can get your dirt inside there. Okay, so far, it's still working great. All right, let's move to the other side and let's pop this side plate off. This should be where our spring is. All right, there's our spring on this side. And it's just a coil spring with a tag on each end. One end's going to hook up inside here. It's got a little hook on the end that flips up into there. And the other one's going to go into this hole over here, or this notch. And there's not much there to go bad on it. See how it moves? And if you needed to, you can actually make that. If you get the appropriate size wire, you can actually make that spring. And hang on a second, I'll tell you what size wire it is. It's 30 thousandths. a 30,000 spring wire, and you can buy it on eBay. It's usually about $4 for a roll of it, small roll. But yeah, you can change that out. Now what this needs really is just a little bit of grease inside there to help that spring maneuver. Help it slide on the case. And that's really all that it needs inside. All right, now we're going to go over here, and this part does really need to come apart. You just have to be careful with it when you do so. Okay, remove the screw, pull the screw out, and gently lift this out on this side, and you're going to have this plastic plate that the bushing or roller fits up into. You've got the roller, and this one does not have an internal bushing. Well, it's built into it, it looks like, but it is super dirty inside. So we're going to take a second to go ahead and clean this out. Look at that. A line roller that's that dirty probably isn't functioning anymore. All right, so clean it out good. You can usually clean it out good with cotton swab. WD-40 is an excellent cleaner for this type of thing. Get a little on your cotton swab, run it through a few times, and it will help to dissolve the things that are in there that do not belong. All right, that cleaned out the roller good. We're going to wipe this plastic piece out. So I said, this is a very simple reel for the most part. It doesn't have a whole lot of complicated parts. Okay, we're going to wipe this and make sure that that lines up properly to the hole. And then you can see where that dirt has been rubbing in here, and it's been rubbing on the paint, taking the paint off. I'm going to wipe it down with a rag. All right, and I'm going to put a little bit of grease on it. Rotate the roller on it. It moves easily now. Slide the plastic piece over the end. And if you need to, you can put a little dab of grease on there to help hold it. Some people disagree with using grease here. I like to use grease. Okay, we're going to set that there. And we're going to come back here. Put this screw in. The screw fits through the plastic washer and into the roller shaft. Okay, tighten it down. Make sure that your roller will turn, and it does. Okay, we're going to come back. Add a little oil right here where it all comes together. And some people are opposed to even putting oil there because it has a tendency to collect dirt. I will always lubricate them. I just want them to be cleaned more often. I've got what appears to be a storm brewing outside. It's nice. We need some rain. Since I can't go fishing today anyway because I don't have my boat. You know, there was a time when I didn't have a boat. And I used to go fishing all the time without a boat. But suddenly I don't have a boat, and I suddenly can't feel like I can't go fishing. That's pretty sad. I might have to make myself get out and go do some bank fishing. All right, we've got the rotor clean. It trips. And we need to put a few drops of oil down here. And a little bit of oil on this spring. And the reason being, when water has a tendency to get into these places, and when it does, if there's nothing coating those springs, they'll get rusty. And when they get rusty, they tend to break. All right. We're ready to start putting all this back together. Before I forget it, let's go ahead and put some grease on the pinion gear. The reel that I did yesterday, the Fierce 5000, I forgot to put grease on that gear, and I saw it when I was editing the video, and I went back to fix it, and by rotating the reel around a few times, I had already supplied enough lubricant to take care of it. So I put enough grease on the gears that it really took care of it already. All right, that's got that. Next is going to go this bearing, and like I said, I've got these spare bearings. I replaced this roller bearing, which there's really nothing wrong with this bearing. It's just not a sealed bearing, and I'm doing an upgrade. So we're replacing the sealed bearing, or the open bearing, with a sealed bearing, and these are 9 by 17 by 4. It's 9 millimeters on the inside diameter, 17 millimeters on the outside diameter, and 4 millimeters thick. Okay, so that takes care of that. And I believe we are ready to set that back inside the case. Now, this bearing retainer is also a ramp trip. So we're going to put that on there, and then we're going to take these 2 screws, put them back in. No, nothing's missing. The rotor comes up and holds that up, keeps it from dropping down. Okay, for some reason I kept thinking I was missing something. Okay, then when this drops down like so, this should then come over, click in. There we go. Because I was thinking for some reason that this anti-reverse dog or cog set down below, and it doesn't. It sits up inside here, and that's where that rides. All right. Everything's good. Let's deactivate the anti-reverse. Okay, that moves it over and out of the way. Okay, we're ready to go ahead and put the rotor back on. All right, you're going to hold up on the pinion gear. Let's go ahead and blow this up just a little bit. We're going to slide on the rotor. There we go. We're now going to slide on the locking plate, which has to fit into the square, into the sides. There we go. And put on the lock nut, or sorry, lock washer. Then comes the lock nut. And let's tighten that up. Okay, now it's spinning on its new sealed bearing. All right. I've decided that I'm not going to worry too much about this being worn out on this. If it creates a problem, I'm going to come back and fix it. But until it does, I'm going to leave it alone. Okay, so let's go ahead and grease up the Crosswind gear. Put it in with the post to the rear, like so. We're going to install the screw. Well, now that's nowhere near as loose as it was. Okay, it's tightened right up when I tightened the screw back down. So maybe the screw, although it appeared to be tight, wasn't tight. Okay. Let's go ahead, put some grease on the Crosswind block. And we're going to drop it into the hole. Remember, the screw hole goes to the non-foot side of the reel. Oh, messed up. See if I can still get it in. I might have to take that gear back out to get this in. Nope, it went in. Okay. Here we go. We got the sealed bearing in. Now, let me tell you something about these sealed bearings, or bearings. if you are not putting in the bearing and you're going with a bushing, you're keeping the, all right, in the event that you're keeping these, there are notches in these plates, and there are little posts that stick out on the side of these bushings, and those posts have got to fit into those. That locks those in place and keeps them from being able to rotate. All right, so they don't tear up your housing. I am not putting them back in. I'm putting bearings in. So, is this real worth installing sealed bearings? I don't think so, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, at this point, we're ready to grease up the gear. Water's not going to be able to intrude inside this reel, but just in case it gets past these sealed bearings that I'm putting in, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the back side of the gear just to protect it from corrosion. All right, now when I go to set this in, these notches over here have got to fit over top of this piece right here. So that's where we're going to go next, is try to get those lined up with that. And that's what I've done. Okay, you've got shims over here. Make sure that they're in place. If you are replacing these side bearings, these are 8 by 14 by 4. So if you're wanting to order a set, hot rod yours, you can do so. Okay, slide the bearing on. Right, next we're going to install the axle shaft. We're going to oil it, like so. Slide it in. Rotate it around a little bit. Get it to go through our crosswind block. All right, now, when you go to set this up, there's going to be 2 little grooves on each side of the crosswind block. See those grooves? One on each side on that axle shaft, and those are what lock the axle shaft to the crosswind block, like so. Slide this in, get them to go slide down. This little C-clips on there, and then rotate it around into that hole, and we're ready to put that locking screw back in. Okay, there we go. I'm now going to go see if I can find a screw for this. All right, I went downstairs and found some replacement screws. And one is a little bit larger, which I may need. That hole may be stripped out, so I got one that's just a little bit larger than the other one. And let's go ahead and put our side plate back on now. And slip it on. It's not fitting down yet. There we go. Might need to wiggle it a little bit, especially if you're doing things like putting in bearings where bushings were. It's interesting, this hole feels like it's stripped out. So I do have this slightly larger screw, and I'm going to put it into that hole. This might be my replacement screw, and it might be just a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead and run this one in. There we go. That's a nice snug fit. All right, we've done the drags. Down to this. Let's go ahead and clean this spool up real quick. Won't take a second. And what I do is I just spray it. On my scrubbing board here, and I'll spray it down just a little bit. Take a toothbrush, scrub it up a little bit. that's got the spool clean. And let's put it back on. Snap it in place. There we go. And we're down to, well, let's wipe off the handle, because it's pretty dirty. All right, now one thing that I did manage to do by replacing this bushing with a sealed bushing on the, with a sealed bearing on this side, is I managed to isolate any dirt that gets in there. Is only going to sit on this very end of the gear. It's not actually going to be able to penetrate down inside, except to go through the center where it might be able to get onto the thread. So let's go ahead and put some oil on the threads just to help protect them. And let's screw this back together. Okay. And there we have a Zebco PSG40 with all sealed replacement bearings. And it's a pretty nice little reel, actually. Now, it is a graphite body. Now, I wouldn't mind tangling with a few redfish with this reel, but that's what's in its size range anyway. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me in the comments section. Let's see how it trips. That trips just fine. And I'm going to be pulling all the line off this because it obviously needs a new line. But if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. And if you'd like to see further videos like this, by all means, hit the subscribe button. And for now, that's Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.